The morning arrived with clear blue skies, as today would be the public trial of the Templar leaders in Paris. Scaffolding had been erected in front of Notre Dame Cathedral, allowing the citizens of the city to view the proceedings. French dignitaries and the cardinals of the General Council were also in attendance. The show had been carefully scripted and arranged by Pope Clement V and King Philip IV as a public spectacle. It was to be a celebration of the power of the king as the defender of the faith. However, Guillaume de Nogaret would not enjoy the day he had helped orchestrate. He died of natural causes in April 1313. After 7 years of imprisonment, Jacques de Molay had been critically weakened. The 70-year-old had been physically and emotionally injured through the brutal methods employed by Philip's inquisitors. He was malnourished and suffered from a lack of sunlight. But stepping out in the warm light and seeing his brothers again after such a long time, he felt invigorated. As Pope Clement V watched him, he noticed a spark in the old Grand Master's eyes that had not been there during the trial. And it troubled the Pope. The men were dressed in the order's white robes emblazoned with the Red Cross. They were paraded across the stage as the crowd stared, since this was to be the ultimate humiliation. As the men sat on a bench, facing the crowd, Guillaume Humbert, chief inquisitor for the king, read the charges. "This day we will decide the fate of these men," Guillaume yelled above the light breeze. "They stand charged with trampling and urinating on the crucifix, secret rites of obscene kisses, sodomy, usury, treason, idolatry, and heresy. On these charges, they have privately confessed. I shall ask these men once again to proclaim their guilt publicly, to confess to these terrible, unthinkable actions, and be confirmed. The penance will be according to the church rule of perpetual imprisonment." As the crowd heard the charges, there were gasps and murmurs. Many looked away in disgust. "I shall now ask each one to confess publicly," Guillaume said. "Hugues de Perrot, how do you plead?" As Guillaume looked toward him, Hugues' head remained bowed, and he mumbled guilty. "Hugues de Perrot pleads guilty," Guillaume bellowed. "Godefroy de Gonville, how do you plead?" Again, Godefroy's head remained down as he said quietly, "Guilty." "Godefroy de Gonville pleads guilty," Guillaume said, and smiled. "Jacques de Molay, how do you plead?" As Guillaume looked in his direction, Jacques remained quiet. Then slowly he raised his head, staring coldly at Guillaume. At that moment, he rose from the bench. Guillaume, caught by surprise, glanced at the Pope and cardinals. Some in the crowd murmured, as others tried to silence them so they could hear what Jacques would say. "On this terrible day," Jacques began, moving to the edge of the platform to peer into the crowd's eyes. "In my final hour, I shall let truth triumph. I shall declare before heaven and the saints that I have committed the greatest of all crimes." The courtyard grew silent. The only sounds heard were the leaves rustled by the breeze and the gentle burble of the Seine as it flowed past. The crowd had grown transfixed, hardly breathing. "My crime is that I confess to terrible charges made against an order that is innocent so that I could escape further torture," Jacques screamed, a new strength in his voice. "I shall not confirm one lie with another. I renounce life willingly and have no use for days of sorrow earned only by lies.